Coach Brian Kelly, Notre Dame University, big day for every college coach. Coach, welcome to the program. Thanks for a few minutes of your time.
My pleasure, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Take us through this day, letter of intent signing day. What does it entail for you?
Well, I mean, it's similar to building your team through the draft in a sense. The only difference is you pretty much know you're getting these guys because you've spent the last year, looking at them and recruiting them, and certainly feeling like they're going to come to your university. I think there's a few surprises on this day, but you really know what you're getting. So this really is just the culmination of a year, 2 years of recruiting. So I think for me as the head coach, it's putting that roster together and building your program. Now, this is year 5 for us, so we're really looking at this recruiting so much differently than maybe year 1 or year 2, in that we're building depth for our football team. We've got 18 recruits that are the top 15 in the country at their position. So we're looking across the board in terms of developing depth throughout the entire program.
What's your role over the last couple of days if there's a recruit who maybe is showing signs of cold feet?
Well, that's a good question. I think in some instances, I really try to make sure that the kid understands why you would come to Notre Dame. And then if that knocks him off the ledge, I'm okay with that, because you can't come to Notre Dame under false pretenses. You have to know what you're getting into. A very competitive academic environment, a small faith-based education. There's intense scrutiny and spotlight underneath everything that goes on here at Notre Dame. And if that's not right for you, then maybe you shouldn't come to Notre Dame. So where some may want to try to reel you in if you have cold feet, I'll kind of try to find out what it is that is concerning you about the decision. And if you're worried about any of the things that I just mentioned, then maybe you should try to look somewhere else.
He's Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly. Now, what do you say to a kid, coach, if the kid says, I want to play right away? I want you to tell me I'm going to be able to play right away.
Well, I tell them, quite honestly, that I expect you to have that mentality coming in. And I don't want guys that don't have that feeling that they can compete immediately. I think the kids are more developed coming out physically. Certainly there are kids that we recruit at specific positions that we believe can compete right away. But I don't think anybody's guaranteeing playing time, because there's other really good players. But I definitely articulate to the kids that, hey, you better come in with a mindset that we want you to compete right away. I don't want guys coming in thinking they're going to redshirt and not try to compete for playing time right away. But there's never any guarantees, given out. I don't know any coaches are making those guarantees. But I do believe today kids are more physically mature where they can come in. I think it's the mental, Mike, that separates those guys that play right away from those that don't play right away.
Do you hear much about negative recruiting where other coaches from other programs are saying bad things about you to try to get a kid to not go to Notre Dame?
Yeah, but I don't know that. For example, we'll get some schools that'll send the weather report. But if kids are going to make decisions based upon that, then they're probably not the right guy for us anyway. So, but I think there's an integrity to the point where guys are not going to make things up. They're going to point out, some of the things. But look. We're in the Midwest. It gets cold up here, but if Green Bay drafts you number 1, are you not going to go? So I think there's a way to combat some of those things, but I think it really, at the end of the day, most schools know that kids are going to make decisions based upon people and their opportunity to play and get a great degree.
We're joined by Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly. We've been talking a lot today, Coach, about the fax machines. Everybody still uses the fax machine for these letters of intent?
I don't know why. It seems silly to me. you can take a picture, you can download it, you can obviously email it. I think they're probably in their last cycle. Probably not going to see them here in the next year or two. I think it's just a matter of a formality and in a way that people have always done it. But I think they're going away really fast here, and I think probably the next year or two you won't hear anything about the fax machine used on signing day anymore.
Talking to Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly, last week story emerged about the Northwestern program trying to unionize. Any thoughts on whether this is something that should happen, will happen, could happen? What are your thoughts?
You know, I haven't given it a lot of thought other than, I've really followed closely, the NCAA's, pieces of legislation that have been more towards, trying to provide more resources for the student athlete. And that seems to be what Northwestern is saying by wanting to unionize. So I think we're in a climate where I think the NCAA is looking at some of the things that Northwestern is talking about, and in particular being more student-athlete oriented and student-athlete friendly. So I think we're in that culture anyways in terms of what's happening right now, in terms of legislation that's coming out. I think we're in that entire mindset of looking for things to help the student-athlete. So I think it's all going to come together in the right form and fashion, and kind of see where that goes over the next year.
Do you get the sense, Coach, that it's inevitable that some way, somehow, the players will get more, whether it's a stipend or some type of payment? It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it in a way that's fair to everyone?
I do. Whether it's cost of attendance or, some form which, allows the student athlete who cannot work and has a hard time. Now, we all know that value of the degree is incredible and what the student athlete gets there, and nobody's minimizing that. But if there's an opportunity for the student athlete to be able to fly home when he does get an opportunity to break and see his family, or have a little money in the bank that he can go to the movies or get some food, go out to eat, I think everybody is looking to make that happen in some fashion.
He's Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly. When you're trying to close the deal with a player, is it more often the parent that you have to convince, or is it the kid?
I would say that it's 75% the young man and 25% the parent. And I'm a parent too, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners would feel the same way. You want to guide your son. You want to give him great advice, but you don't want it to be one where they call you after a month at the school and say, well, you made me come here, right? So I think the student athlete and the recruit is really central to the decision. But I think the parents are very, very important because, they can give experience and they can be there to really help make that decision. So I think they're very important, the parents in the process. And our focus is really to bring the whole family in, but I think at the end of the day, the student athlete is the one that is ultimately making a large part of that decision.
Well, great stuff, Coach. We appreciate you taking some time. We know it's a busy day. We'll let you get back to the fax machine and clear out the paper jam.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot. Coach Brian Kelly, Notre Dame.